so much has changed since the pandemic. We kind of want to give you guys a breakdown as to what each division, so D1, D2, D3, and ACHA, what are the kind of players that they were looking for and how it's all changed since the pandemic. So hopefully you guys get a lot of value out of this video. What's going on, guys? This is Braden from Advancement Hockey Advising here. And today we'll be talking about ACHA Hockey and how it's evolving in 2023 compared to how it was a few years back. We actually made a video about ACHA Hockey. It was one of our first videos here on our YouTube channel and it's grown really popular. You can actually check it out right here if you're interested. But basically we just laid out what ACHA Hockey was and whether it was worth it or not. A lot of people really like this video, but since then so much has changed since the pandemic. There's updates that we want to give you guys as to, what ACHA Hockey looks like now. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with ACHA Hockey, it's basically a college hockey division that's, I would say, a tier below NCAA D3. So typically you go NCAA D1 being the top, U Sports being, just below D1, but then there's NCAA D3, and then there's ACHA D1, D2, D3. Okay, that's kind of how it goes. A lot has changed since we last made this video where it was a very clear-cut ranking. Now, some top ACHA D1 programs, for example, are really choosy about who they're bringing on their teams, and they're really like programs that could definitely compete with NCAA D3 programs. So it's really muddied the waters a little bit since the pandemic. We kind of want to give you guys a breakdown as to what each division, so D1, D2, D3, and ACHA, what are the kind of players that they were looking for and how it's all changed since the pandemic. So hopefully you guys get a lot of value out of this video. If you do like this kind of content, what would an AHA video here be without me absolutely plugging in the like button? So destroy that like button if you do like this content. And if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another video moving forward. All right, now with that out of the way, let's get into ACHA Hockey and how it's changed. So where does ACHA Hockey stand now? Let's start with the top 15 to 20 ACHA D1 programs. These top programs here, before the pandemic and maybe like 3-4 years back, they used to recruit guys out of maybe like the USPHL Premier, the NA3HL. They go for good players in there, but that's where they used to recruit out before. Now it's really evolved to like they recruit really good players out of the EHL. They recruit good players out of leagues like the NOJHL. Some players out of the USPHL Premier, but it's really like the really top players on the top teams. They're really going for those kind of guys, and they're even getting tier 2 guys. Some teams are getting players out of the BCHL, NAHL, players out of the CCHL, NCDC. Like some of these top ACHA programs are really getting some really stellar players, and they'd be able to compete with mid to low end NCAA D3 programs, no doubt. So these top teams are really recruiting for the cream of the creme at that point. I would say that if you're a guy that's coming out of high school or whatever, it's really not the right fit for you because now they're really recruiting for really good junior hockey players. So something to keep in mind here. All right, now let's move on to the remaining ACHA D1 programs and the top ACHA D2 programs. I'm putting these guys together because they recruit, a similar style of player, and they were really similar before and what they are now as well. These guys used to go for good high school players, and they also used to go for lower end junior players. So let's say USPHL Elite, EHLP, all these kinds of leagues. They used to go for players like that had okay resumes in junior hockey or had good resumes in high school hockey, but not great players by any means, okay? Now they go more for good USPHL Premier players. They go more for low to mid-end EHL players. They go for good NA3HL players. So you really see that the caliber is like put a bit of an upswing. They don't really go for high school players that much anymore. They want to see guys more with junior experience. Now, some will go for high school players that are really good, but most, I would say, they want to see players playing junior hockey that are doing at least decent in junior hockey. So you really see that big shift in landscape going from, lower end players to now like really guys with junior experience. That's where these guys recruit out of. Moving on to the remaining ACHA D2 programs and the ACHA D3 programs. Before, it used to be that they would just take whoever they could get. Whoever they could fill on their team, they'll just take anybody, honestly. It was really kind of a joke before. They would just take anyone and try and put a team together to play hockey for fun. Now it's actually getting more competitive. Some of the really bottom end teams, it's still like kind of for fun and all that stuff, but the teams that aren't on the bottom end, it's getting a little bit more competitive where they're recruiting guys out of high school that are good players or guys in lower end junior leagues. Even at this point, ACHA D2 and some ACHA D3 teams, they're really getting guys out of junior hockey still. So it's kind of crazy to me that it used to be kind of a joke. They just play for fun, and now it's getting more and more competitive. Just an idea as to how they're recruiting now and how it's changed since maybe 3-4 years back before the pandemic. So what's my whole opinion here on this evolution in ACHA hockey? Personally, I think it's a good thing. I think obviously it's tough because players that are lower end, they can only play to a certain level, and it's that much harder to play even NCAA D3 hockey now, and even the top ACHA D1 teams. It's harder and harder now, but overall, I think it's a good thing because it makes just hockey more competitive altogether. Before, if you didn't make NCAA D3 hockey and you were on a top ACHA D1 team, you really were just playing for fun. But now, if you're not quite at that level, but you're still good enough where you can be competitive and you want to keep playing hockey, if you find a top ACHA D2 program, it's really good hockey still, and you can still have fun and play in a competitive environment. And I think that's a great thing. It's so much better than just kind of playing for fun once a week, not really taking anything seriously. I think that's kind of boring, in all honesty. Players who want to do that, great, you can go to ACHA D3 teams. But overall, I'm excited that there's more of a structure now and that there's different levels that players can still play at competitively. I think this is a really good thing for hockey overall. It shows that there's more players and more competition. Altogether, it was just better overall. All right, guys, that is a wrap for the video. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this and you have a better understanding as to where ACHA hockey is now compared to where it was just a few years ago before the pandemic. So if you guys did get value out of this video, if you liked it, feel free to absolutely destroy that like button if you haven't already. And if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss another video moving forward. Also too, if you have any questions, comments, anything whatsoever you want to talk to us about, feel free to drop a comment down below or send us an email at info@ahadvising.com and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right, guys, that's a wrap for the video. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you on that next one.